We all know it's important to stay in good physical shape, so every year we get a checkup with the doctor to make sure we're on track. But what about our finances? If you're looking to retire, it's incredibly important to have those in good shape too. That's where Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus comes in. She's been guiding her clients to and through retirement for over 30 years, making sure their retirement accounts are prepared to go the distance. It's time to retire financially fit with Phillis. Here's your host, Jen Rizak.
It is hard to believe that the new year will be here before you know it, but time flies. So now is the time for savvy, strategic investors like you to take action. Creating a tax-efficient, inflation-adjusted income strategy now can help you stay ahead of the game later. Thanks so much for joining us this morning on Retire Financially Fit with Phillis. I am Jen Rizak, happy to be here alongside Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates, and she is the author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. Phillis, oh my gosh, the new year will be on us before we even know it. It's so hard to believe that we're already here.
You know, Jen, I'll tell you something that I used to hear when I was young, but I'm telling you now like an old sage. The older you get, the faster the time goes.
Yes.
So hold on tight. Mine, I blinked and here I am. It's true.
Yeah, I know. We were just talking about that a little bit ago, just, what ages my kids will be in the coming year. And yeah, my oldest will be 20. It's just so hard to believe that.
Didn't you just blink?
We just blinked. She was a baby. We blinked, and now she's getting ready to turn 20 years old. And I'm sure everybody out there can relate to that when they look at their kids, their grandkids. Even little Blake. He's still little, but he's growing like a weed.
I keep telling Scott and Alex, please, can we just freeze him? He's so much fun. And I look at him and I think, well, that was me and Scott years ago. Yeah. Now it's Blake. Yeah. It's all good, though. It's really true. It does go by faster.
It goes by fast. You do have those moments where you wish you could freeze it. But time just keeps marching on, and time flies when we're having fun and when we're not. It's just
so we might as well have fun.
So we might as well have fun. That's exactly right. And I know, Phillis, this time of year when things are winding down in the year, but the holidays are ramping up and all of that, I know I have so much going on this time of year. I know what's on my year-end checklist for things that need to be done around the house and with the kids and at home. But tell me, what goes on your year-end checklist to help your clients prepare for 2022? Because that's on everybody's minds.
It is very, very, very important this time of year that we take an inventory of what happened last year and implement especially tax strategies, things that we know we're going to do. So, for example, with Roth conversions, we've already projected out because we're preparing for what we're going to pay next year, but we have a long plan with our clients. So in November is when we start implementing that. We want to make sure, based upon what's happened in the past year and maybe things that have tweaked, that we're right on course, and all Roth conversions have to be done by the end of the year. And a lot of people get this a little mixed up. Roth Contributions, if you want to put money into a contribution, you're working and you want to contribute, you can do that up till April 15th of the following year. But if you want to take money that you've already accumulated in your pre-tax account and pay the taxes on it and put it into your Roth conversion account, got to be done by the end of the year. So that's a very busy thing. And with, tax planning, we also want to look at wins and losses, if you will. So we can be as tax efficient as possible. Maybe if there was a loss in a stock, we're going to sell that off against a gain in a stock. So that's called tax harvesting. In general, we build income plans all the time. We want to make sure with our clients that based upon that past year, we're good, our income projections are right, we don't have any major expenses that we have to, allow for. Social Security and Medicare, if the upcoming year you're going to make that decision or you're thinking about it, we want to run those projections now so that you don't make any. You want to be proactive, not reactive. You also want to look at maximizing your company plan contributions. Let's get together and see, geez, if you have a Roth 401k, should we be putting in the money there? Should we be putting the money into the regular 401k? Have you met your match? We want to review your health insurance. Is it time to make a tweak? I talk about this a lot, probably not enough, but that's like a super Roth, a health savings account. You get to put money into that account, write it off on your taxes, and have it grow tax-free. And if you take that money out later on for health-related expenses, it comes out tax-free. Wow. So if you have a health savings account, we want to figure out how to maximize your savings there. Charitable donations and planned giving, we want to make sure that we take advantage of that for 2021. It ends, you have what's called, Ed Slott calls it the mega QCD, the mega qualified charitable deduction. And what that means is for 2021, because of COVID, 100% of your charitable deductions can be deducted completely. And in 2022, that's going to go back to 60%. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that, if that makes sense. You also want to make sure if you're 70 and a half or older and you haven't yet taken your required minimum distribution, number one, you have to take it. Now, this is tricky. If you were 70 and a half before they changed required minimum distribution to 72, you have to take one, even though you got to skip last year. But if you were not 70 and a half when they changed the required minimum distribution, you have to start taking it at 72. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense, Jen?
Yeah. Well, gosh, I mean, it's so much. I mean,
it's tricky.
It's so overwhelming.
Qualified charitable deductions. Mm-hmm. Again, if you're 70 and a half or older, even if you don't have to take your required minimum distribution to 72, you definitely, you can take out your required minimum distribution and donate it to a charity and not have to claim it on your taxes. So we want to make sure we look at that.
Nice.
If you have to sign up for Medicare, if you've turned 65, you want to make sure you do that. Review your estate plans, your beneficiaries. The end of the year is a great time to do that. Keeps me out of trouble, keeps me from shopping too much, but I want to do that with you. These are all things, let me say this, these are all things that we do with our clients at the end of the year that are very, very important to keep you on track with your plan. And if you are not doing that, if this list is like foreign to you, well, you probably want a second opinion. You want to come in for our Retire Fit analysis. I'll say it straight up, because you may be working with a great person who helped you through the first stage, but they may not be retirement income strategists like we are. And as you get into retirement, that's what you need. Once you get within 10 years of retirement, all the rules, the tools, everything changes. And you don't want to find out 5 years into retirement or when the market drops that you have an accumulation plan, a plan that's just for growth, and you don't have, a tax-efficient retirement income strategy. The way to make sure you're on track is to pick up the phone and call us at 623-792-5496. And we will go through our Retire Fit analysis, which will take you through each of the steps, each of the pieces of the retirement puzzle that you need to have in good order to have a complete retirement plan. And we'll certainly check off the boxes on that long, exhausting list of true retirement planning and tax checkups before the end of the year. So pick up the phone, 623-792-5496. Sounds like a lot, but we break it down into bite-sized pieces. And we just want to make sure that you're on track. It's when we break it down into bite-sized pieces, it's not as complicated as it looks. If you've done the savings, you've done what I call the heavy lifting. Now we want to make sure that things are in good order so that you hold on to that hard-earned money. You get to and through retirement successfully. You don't give more than your fair share to Uncle Sam, who's not really your uncle. It takes planning, Now's a great time to make sure that you're on track, certainly before the end of the year with all of the checklists that I lay out. And let's get started ahead of time make the new year a fantastic year with having your plan in place. Proactive, not reactive. 623-792-5496. Let me add this. This is complimentary. There is no cost other than your time and attention to sit across the table from a great person like me and make sure you're on track. And because, quite frankly, I don't know if you need my help. After we meet, maybe I can help you. Maybe I can't. Maybe it's just a few things. Maybe you don't want my help. Either way, sit down. Let's make sure that you're on track for that retirement that you dreamed of. It all starts with the Retire Fit analysis, 623-792-5496. At a minimum, make sure your advisor's going through that checklist I went through.
That number again, 623-792-5496. Such an important checklist to think about this time of year because there's so much going on. We are getting into such a distracting time. It's so good to have somebody like you, Phillis, who can keep track of all these things, because I know when it comes to things like charitable contributions and, with that kind of stuff, as long as it's postmarked by the 31st, it's going to work for your tax records, but we don't want to wait until December 31st to be scrambling through all this stuff. That's why we're having this conversation now. You want to give yourself a little time to get all these different things implemented, and there's an awful lot. There's an awful lot to sort through.
You bet. I've been on the other side of things where someone waits to the last minute to try to get something done, and it doesn't happen. It's very disappointing. So yes, right. This is the time to go.
You want to get it done now. And again, when you look at things like taxes, being tax efficient, that's such a huge part of this. You have to recognize that today's federal income tax rates could be the lowest you'll see for the rest of your life. With where they are right now after the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we know those tax rates expire come 2026. There are proposals to increase taxes working their way through Congress as we speak. So really, it's not a matter of if, but when taxes will go up. And you need to recognize that taxes could leave you with a fraction of the money you are counting on for your retirement. There is a short window of opportunity to take action to keep those taxes from taking too much of a bite out of your savings. It could mean tens of thousands of dollars back in your pocket. 623-792-5496 is the number to call. Retire Financially Fit with Phillis continues in just a moment. Stay with us.
Time for today's trivia question. How much of an increase will Social Security benefits be in 2022? Is it A, 2.8% or B, 5.9%? The answer coming up in 60 seconds.
If you owed almost $28 trillion and you didn't have the money to pay it off, what would you need to do? Make a lot more money, right? Well, now America's debt is more than $28 trillion, and taxes are at historically low levels. It doesn't take a genius to realize taxes will probably go up. Now, think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now, when rates are low, or later, when rates are much higher? Whether you should pay taxes now or in retirement depends on a lot of things. Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus and the team at PSP & Associates know what to look for. Call 623-792-5496 to set up a visit with Phillis Sachs-Pilvinus and the team at PSP & Associates. That's 623-792-5496. When taxes go up, will you be ready? Call now, 623-792-5496. Firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona-registered investment advisor.
How much of an increase will Social Security benefits be in 2022? Is it A, 2.8% or B, 5.9%? The answer is B, 5.9% in 2022. To see how that affects your finances, contact PSP & Associates today at 623-792-5496. That's 623-792-5496.
Thanks for joining us today on Retire Financially Fit with Phyllis. I am Jen Rezac alongside Phyllis Sachs-Pilvinus. She is founder and president of PSP and Associates and author of the book Creating Calm Amidst the Storm. We're talking today about the fact that the new year will be here before you know it. So it is time to get serious about your year-end financial moves because, like I said, the time just flies by this time of year. And time's flying on the show also. If you missed the first half of the show, there is a year-end checklist that Phyllis has for you to take care of, right, Phyllis? So let's recap that slowly because it's a lot. It's a lot to go through, but I think it's important for people to hear this, especially if they missed it in the first part of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, let me say this. If you're close to retirement or you're retired, these are must-do things. If you really have a retirement plan, you should be doing these things. And if you're not doing this now, great reason to pick up the phone and call us because this is what we do all day, every day. We help people get to and through retirement successfully. That number, just so you have it, 623-792-5496. Now, here's some of the things that are very important that are on that list. So you've built this income plan. You've got this great plan, but it's got to be monitored. This time of year, we want to make sure your income projections for the past year were correct. They're not going to change for the next year. If so, we want to modify things, tweak things. We got to know that now. Expense projections. Are there any big projection expenses coming up in the next year that we want to plan for now? Decide, does it make sense to take money out of your accounts from a tax position this year or just increase the budget next year? Let's be proactive, not reactive. If you're going to be taking Social Security and you want to definitely look proactively ahead of time to make sure you're making the right claiming decision. Let's look at the numbers. There's lots of different strategies. Let's look at that. If you've turned 65 or you're going to be, Medicare, let's get on what those Medicare options are. Should you take a Medicare supplement? If so, which one? Let's explore that proactively, not reactively. You don't want to be, you don't get do-overs on these things without having to pay the price for it. So let's get it right and look at it and take the time to make the best decisions. If you're still working and you've got a 401k, let's make sure you maximize that company plan contribution, at least up to the match. But let's make sure we do it in the right bucket. If you can do it pre-tax and after tax, which one is appropriate for you? Let's review that and make that decision. Let's make sure that we look at if you've got a health savings account, that what I call the super Roth, let's make sure that you contribute, you max out that health savings account because you're going to get to write off that amount of money on your taxes this year. And when you pull that money out for medical related expenses, you won't pay the taxes on that either. So health savings accounts are like gold. If you don't know a lot about those, that's a great reason to call us at 623-792-5496. Best thing since sliced bread. I'll tell you all the details. If you've got a lot of investments that you've had over the year and you've got, let's say we have a plan that we want 60% safe and 40% risk. Well, with the market such as it is, do we need to rebalance these investments? Let's take a look at that. Let's make sure that we're staying to the investment policy statement that you have. If Roth conversions are in your plan, we want to do it in November. We want to make sure that we get that done before the end of the year, and we want to review our strategy to make sure we're still on track. Because remember, if you've got a true retirement plan, we've looked at our long-term tax liability, we've backed into it, we've come up with plenty of strategies to reduce and eliminate your taxes, perhaps put tens of thousands of dollars back in your pocket. So a Roth conversion, end of the year is when we want to review what's happened and look forward and make sure we're on track with the right amount and get it done before the end of the year. Charitable donations and planned giving. Let's make sure that we take advantage. We want to be charitable, but also make sure that you do it right so that we can deduct it on our taxes. And this year, you get to deduct 100% of what you contribute to a charity. Next year, it's going to go back to 60%. So maybe we want to do some proactive things right there. You definitely, if you turn 65, you want to sign up for Medicare. This is a good time to look at that. Check the rules for your required minimum distributions if you turn 72. Make sure you know when you have to take it. Let's just review that. Make sure you took your required minimum distribution, or we'll be taking it before the end of the year. Your inherited IRA, if you're under the old rules too long, I'll talk about that on another show. Old rules, new rules. Make sure you got your distribution. And let's review your estate plan, especially on your retirement accounts. You know, if after the Secure Act that happened before the whole hullabaloo with COVID, the government changed the rules for your kids and your loved ones. You can't take a stretch anymore. Your children can't take out your retirement plan over their life expectancy. They've got to liquidate your retirement account over 10 years. Or within 10 years, I should say, after your death. So that spells a lot of taxes. And if you have the wrong beneficiary, such as your trust, and it's the wrong type of trust, you just made a huge charitable deduction to Uncle Sam instead of your kids, and you won't get to deduct it. So let's review your estate plan, make sure that the beneficiaries are set up appropriately. That's the list. I hope you wrote it all down. No, if you're not doing all this, that is a fantastic reason to pick up the phone and call me now, because we will do it with you. 623-792-5496. And all that says is you may not have a true retirement plan. And who's that going to cost? It's going to cost you and your loved ones. Not your advisor, not the government, you and your loved ones. So let's get a second opinion. Let's go through our Retire Fit analysis. We'll go through all the pieces of the retirement puzzle that I talk about all the time to make sure that you have a plan that protects your hard-earned money so that you get to and through retirement successfully, independently, and you're on your own terms. It's complimentary to see if you're on track. Let's be proactive, not reactive. And the way to get started is to pick up the phone and call me at 623-792-5496 or go to retirewithpsp.com and you can set up an appointment right on my Calendly link. My calendar's right on there. We make it real easy for you to set up a complimentary appointment. We'll sit down together and make sure you're on track. If not, we'll get you there. 623-792-5496. This is the time of year, especially to get on track.
623-792-5496 again is that number. Such an important checklist to go through. And I do want to spend a few minutes here before we run out of time today talking about RMDs. You mentioned the Secure Act. One of the changes, I think, with the Secure Act was the age for required minimum distributions, turning that or bumping that back to age 72. And then, of course, those were waived entirely for 2020. So we don't want to forget about that this year, Phyllis, because for some people, this is their first time dealing with it because maybe they turned 72 last year, but the requirement wasn't applying because they waived it because of all the, as you put it, the hullabaloo with the COVID pandemic. So what are some options for those RMDs, especially minimizing those so we could potentially reduce that tax bite a little bit?
So first of all, you're right, Jen. Do not forget that you have to take it this year if you've turned 72, or if you were 70 and a half before they changed the rules. Even though you didn't have to take it last year, you've got to take it this year, and you've got to get that done before December 31st. Otherwise, hold on tight, there's a penalty, and that penalty is 50% on the amount you should have taken out. So get that right. And let me give you another tip. The Internal Revenue doesn't make things easy. If you've got 10 IRAs, as long as you add up the entire amount and take it out of one or all of them or some of them, you're okay. But if you've got an IRA and a 401k and you're no longer working at that company, if you don't take one out of the 401k plus the IRAs separately, you're going to have a penalty on that 401k. And a lot of people don't know that.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
wow.
You've got to take that out. If you've got 5 401ks, you've got to take it out of each one. That's why you want to simplify things when you retire.
Yes.
But that's a huge penalty waiting to happen.
So important to think about those required minimum distributions. When you talk about those penalties, Phyllis, That is the highest penalty in the tax code if you don't follow the rules. The last thing you want is steep penalties and potentially higher taxes swiping away at your retirement savings and leaving you with just a fraction of the money that you were counting on for your retirement. That's why it's so important that we talk with somebody like Phillis who knows what's going on with the rules. That is what the Retire Fit analysis is all about. 623-792-5496 is that number. That's 623-792-5496. Be sure to tune in again next week for more insights from Phillis, and we'll talk to you next time.
Investment advisory services are offered through PSP Financial Services, LLC, an Arizona registered investment advisor. PSP Financial Services is an independent financial services firm that helps people create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance and investment products. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to safety, security, or guaranteed lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investment products. Insurance and annuity product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. PSP Financial Services, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. You should talk to a qualified professional before making any decisions about your personal situation. We are not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.